Hello dear subscribers and watchers, what's up? This is Vivs from SlideNerd here. In this video, we're gonna take a look at a simple example that tells you guys exactly how parameterized constructors and constructor overloading works. And we'll also talk about how to fix that small issue which we saw in the previous video, which you guys are probably not so clear about. So here I have my class Vivs main inside NetBeans, and then there's a simple class person which has nothing great, just a string first name, a string last name, and an int age. So at this point, if I go here and I simply try to create an object by saying person is new person, you know very well that the default constructor is going to be called, and that default constructor need not be defined inside our class. This is what we already discussed, because Java already provides this default constructor that's going to set null values for all these things except the integer. So now let's make our parameterized constructor. I'm gonna go here, say person. This constructor is gonna take three arguments. I'm gonna say string f, string l, and int age. I'm gonna say int a over here. At this point, I can directly say first name should be equals to f, last name is l, and age equals a, and that takes care of something. Now, as soon as you do this, there's a sweet little error over here. And as you guys notice, it says constructor, person, and class cannot be applied to given types, reason, actual, blah blah blah. In other words, what it is saying is that this default constructor is not found here anywhere. Remember, when you create your own parameterized constructor, you should also provide a default constructor if you want to use your app like this. I'm gonna say person over here, just put empty brackets over here, and now it has absolutely no problems with any code errors, right? So here inside this constructor, I can probably set default values by saying person first name is null, then I can probably say last name equals null, and I can also say age equals -1 or something like this. It's completely your call what values you want to give over here, but make sure that you give some sensible values over here, because every object that uses the default constructor is going to have the same starting values. So now at this point, let's put a simple system.out.println and see exactly what is happening. I'm going to say default constructor is called over here, and inside the second one, I'm going to go here and simply say system.out.println, and we can also put another print statement that prints all the values out. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to say system.out.println. So let me write the values inside that are going to be printed. So at this point, I have printed the values of the default constructor inside after they have been initialized. Same way, I give the values first and then I have printed it out. So let's run this program and try to see what happens. I'll say Control S, Shift F6, and as you guys notice here, it says default constructor called over here. But now if I go down here and I say person u equals to new person, and at this time, if I go and give the appropriate parameters that we guys wanted to see, so I'm going to say Vivs over here, then I'm going to supply the second integer as something like SlideNerd over here, and the third one as an integer by saying something like 20 over here, and let's see what happens. Control S, Shift F6. If you guys notice, this time both the constructors are called. The first one, person equals to new person, will match with this constructor that takes no arguments. Hence, this statement over here runs, which says default constructor was called here, and then it prints first name, last name, and age, which are null, null, -1. Now the second time when you say person u is new person, what happens this time is that this statement gets executed over here. It says parameterized constructor called here, and there's Vivs over here, SlideNerd, and 20 over here. So that means things are working perfectly. So what about that small issue that I was talking here? Actually, let me make another constructor here that will illustrate this issue clearly. I'm gonna make another single constructor that only takes the first name. I'm gonna say string f over here, and this one is gonna give the value of first name equals to something like Mr. plus f over here. The last name is gonna be null in this case, and the other one, age, is also gonna be equals to -1 in this case. So in this case, let's see what exactly happens. Let me put the same parameterized system.out.println here that says parameterized constructor with one argument called here, and then there's again these three fields that I'm gonna simply print out here. And now let's go up and modify things. Now this statement that says person is new person, here I'm gonna pass the value Anki over here, and as you guys notice, this statement is gonna say, okay, find a constructor person that takes a string argument, and it is right here, right, that string argument. So this statements are gonna run. So let's see this in action. Control S, Shift F6, and as you guys notice, the parameterized constructor with one argument is called here, and then it says Mr. Anki null and -1. Now let's try to put the same values here in the second constructor. I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna say Anki slide node and 20 at this point. So at this point, if I run this by saying Shift F6, notice carefully, the first name is Mr. Anki when you call this constructor, but it is only Anki when you call this constructor with 3 arguments. That means the value of the first name is differing at both places, which means it is not consistent. Hence, what I'm gonna do is very simple. I'm gonna remove all these statements, and now carefully notice what I say. I'm gonna simply say this over here. I'm gonna pass the first name that we got, the second argument, which is gonna be our last name. I'm gonna pass it as null here. The third argument, age, I'm gonna pass it as -1 over here, and that's all I'm doing. In other words, what I'm trying to do is I'm saying that, hey, if you find only the first name guy, give this first name to this guy who takes 3 arguments, and this is gonna call the above constructor here that takes 3 arguments. Again, there is a direct match. F, the first name, null, the last name, -1, the age. At this point, all these statements are again gonna run. Now let me show you that in action as well. Let me maximize this output window over here. So at this point, we have the person is new person Anki over here, and the second one which says Anki, slide node, 20. So let's see what happens. Control S, Shift F6, and as you guys notice, the first statement over here goes down all the way to call this person object over here, but this person actually says this F null -1. In other words, we are trying to call this constructor above directly from the third constructor, and hence the system.out.println carefully says parameterized constructor called here. You notice that? Then there is Anki, there is null, there is -1. At the same time, if you go up and see the second statement here which says person u is new person with Anki, slide node, and 20, it says string integer. Who is the constructor that has that? It's this guy, string integer. So execute all these statements inside that constructor. Hence, again, parameterized constructor called here. Then it says Anki and slide node and 20. In other words, this statement, this F null -1, serves as a way to call this constructor over here. And this is one of the ways you can use the this keyword. Now I'll be talking a lot more about the this keyword in the upcoming videos. Here, the reason for me to show you this was you want to ensure that the constructor values assigned to the instance variables remain the same no matter which constructor you're calling, and that is the whole point behind this thing. So hopefully you guys have understood something about consistency and constructors. If you guys do like what you saw, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to our channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comment boxes below. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a nice day.